You are now watching SWSHEnergy PTCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' YouTube? Welcome back to SWSHEnergy PTCG. I'm SWSHEnergy, and today we're going to be going over how can you see success at the team challenge. So I know I've been posting a lot of vids on the Players Cup 3, and I've been thinking about it, and a lot of players probably did not make it into the Players Cup, whereas I think there's probably more players, or potentially more of my viewers, or more people in general probably qualified for the team challenge. It's a global event. I'd say there's more than 1,000. I think there's about 2,000. So maybe you did, and maybe you're interested and you're like, yo, where's all the team challenge content? I'm here for you. I'm trying to provide for everyone. So the goal of this video is to kind of give you some tips and tricks to make it through this type of event. And on top of that, I'm going to include my top 4 deck lists for this event. Each member of your team can pack a different deck. You could all pack the same deck, but these are the decks that I recommend playing at this time for this event. So starting off with it, the team challenge, not to talk bad about it or anything like that, it's kind of shrouded in mystery. A lot of Pokemon's first events, such as the Players Cup 1 and the Team Challenge, are trial run basis, or it just seems to be like that, where it's like we went into this worldwide pandemic, no one really knew exactly what's going on, all of our in real life play shut off, and I mean, I think they're kind of coming up with ideas as they go, and in a way, I think that's incredible. In other ways, as a team challenge player, or someone who made it on, I'm playing for Torchlight Games in Burlington, Ontario. My issue is I don't know how it works. So I had one of my homies, Carl Michael, they messaged me and they're like, yo, this is what my store sent me. So unfortunately, like our store, I asked our organizer, we don't know any information and it's supposed to start next week. So I feel like we're a little bit left out here in the dark. So I'll give as much information as what I've read on my handy dandy phone here. So basically what it looks like teams just kind of come to a mutual decision on what works for them, whether it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, I think is how it works for next week. And if we're pulling up on a calendar, and I should probably look at the calendar for that, that puts you anywhere from a March 17th to a March 22nd kind of window where everything needs to get reported by March 22nd. Now, I'll put a gigantic asterisk beside that, considering a lot of teams haven't necessarily got information. Maybe they'll push it another week, especially since this weekend coincides with that weekend would coincide with the Players Cup event. So for everyone who qualified, I'm sure there's got to be some players like myself who are able to qualify for both. And you're like, yo, I kind of want to play in both. There's not a lot of opportunities to play Pokemon. The fact that they're going like this, and it might necessarily make for a messy kind of situation. So that's kind of what I can gather. Hopefully you got more information. Check your local store's Discord. Talk to your organizers. Maybe they need to check their junk folder. I know that sometimes my Pokemon emails that they send me get filtered. So maybe that would be a good way to check things out. Hopefully a lot of us can figure out what's going on securely. Second off, what I read is that each team is going to have 3 players and 1 team captain per round. And in an event where one player can't play, so let's say if they're going to a funeral, or let's say they're going on a mini vacation, of course, staying safe and all that good stuff, then you could play with 3 team players. And players are actively encouraged or allowed to screen share and talk their plays out. So this is different from other events, or at least they're saying so. So it's one of those things where this seems to be an event where they're encouraging team play, especially since it's kind of more of a casual type event, more of like an upgrade at their league at home system. So that means that you could screen share, talk to your homies on your team, stuff like that, help them through their plays, help them through their decision-making process. And again, that's what I've read. I can't be certain until I see the documents sent out to myself. So take all of this with kind of like a grain of salt, but it should be pretty legitimate. And always check the rules on the Team Challenge website and the Arcanine GG website. I don't want to give you any misinformation that would cause you getting a penalty or anything like that. Beyond that, it looks like your 3 players are playing games of best of 3, and then the first team to get 5 wins wins. So each player plays against someone, and then you keep on rotating around. So what does that mean for deck choice? Well, I think there's actually a couple ways that you could go about this. I think you could either go with your team goes 3 different decks, or you go 2 of the same deck, 1 of a different deck. I would also choose decks that all have different kind of coverage types. So it's one of those things where if you're playing decks that are, if you're playing, like, let's say if you go in here and you're like, yo, you want to know what, I want to beat Pikarom and I want to beat Eternatus, and you play Colossal. Well, Colossal, very much, if you don't hit those twice, you could really be bringing down your team. And that's not to say that Colossal is a bad play per se. It's one of those things where I think that you want to choose a deck that has more of an even spread, especially in a 2 out of 3 setting. So decks like Pikarom, Centiskorch, ADP, Eternatus, that can really hold their own against these. So you won't necessarily hit as poor of a matchup. That would be a really good opportunity for you to kind of succeed in this kind of setting. So I mean, I think that you either want to go for your team, like let's say my team, I would recommend that we either go ADP, Centiskorch, Pikarom, something like that, or that we go Eternatus, ADP. That being said, I think that gives us a wide variety of options against what our opposing team would throw at us. So if you go too out there, you might not necessarily hit the matchups that you want, and it becomes a little bit extra RNG because it's not entirely random who you're going to be hitting. So I think that's pretty cool. If it comes to deciding who you want as your team players, I think it's actually better to have a player, the strongest player might be a better idea for them to be the captain. They could delegate actions, and I think you kind of you might want to go with that kind of strategy. In my case, I've offered to my team that I could be a team player or a captain, whatever works best for them. I'm not sure if everyone feels comfortable playing or if they'd be upset if I didn't play. A lot of players have been considering me one of the top players in the game right now, especially within North America. So maybe if I'm not playing, that'd be detrimental to my team. Maybe they'd feel a little bit nervous about that. I'm not entirely sure how it all goes. But I'm more or less a team player, and I just want to really see my team to victory, whichever way they want to utilize me. I don't necessarily want to make a call, so I'm fine sitting out or playing. Either way does not bother me. So it's one of those things where I think everyone just needs to be flexible, realize that this is an event for the fun of Pokemon. They're really bringing it on during the pandemic when they didn't necessarily have to do too much. A lot of other card games are not doing as much as Pokemon. As much as you might be like, yo, Pokemon's not doing enough, I think Pokemon's doing a lot right now. And I'm more than excited to play in this team challenge. Beyond that, I mean, I think you just try to find decks that really fit for a player. So if we're going in with my strategy of, like, let's say my team, I know that there's a player on my team that might play ADP well. My other team members would consist of Michelle Babin, my girlfriend, and myself. And there's other team member, of course, like there's 4 members on my team, but maybe we give the ADP to a player who's more comfortable with ADP. I don't want to put someone out of their comfort zone and be like, hey man, your choices are to play Eternatus. Or I don't want to be like Michelle, she's not necessarily the most comfortable with Centiskorch. I'm not going to be like, play Centiskorch. I'll pick a deck that I know that I'm fine with all decks, and then really finding a way to make it work just so that we can all cover our bases. So that's really the strategy that I think I'm going to bring forth with my team, probably going with 3 different decks, but we might end up in a situation where we're like, yeah, we're going to go with 2 different decks. 2 players play this deck, 1 player plays this deck, and that's kind of our way to kind of catch most of the metagame. And the strategy might develop as we continue on in the team challenge, but I think it's a really good strategy to think about. I wouldn't recommend going all 3 players playing the same deck, because you could run into more poor matchups, especially if someone's going for the 2-in-1 strategy, or if they pick decks that could go against. You want to have kind of a fail-safe measure. The way that I think about it is kind of like how you hear these stories about airplane pilots and their co-pilot, and the co-pilot will never have the same meal as the other pilot. I think measures involving playing airplanes might be a little bit more strict than playing Pokemon, but the premise is still the same. If you're both playing the same deck, it's one of those things where if you both get sick or get stuck with a poor matchup, it'd be very difficult for you to overcome from that. So I know I've rambled on here enough, and I don't necessarily want to make this just like me sitting in front of a camera and rambling on. I do want to showcase some decks to you. These decks are going to be very similar to my recent top decks for the Players Cup video, but they do have some updated lists, so I really want to showcase that to all of you, just in case you're like, yo, you want to know what, these decks are really great for a team challenge, let's check it out. But yeah, I totally want to help you out here with those, so be sure to check those out. Right now, if you're looking for any of the cards in those decks, go to PTCGO plug in code SWSHEnergy5 to save 5% on your order. All the lists below are in the description. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe to the channel. Currently on a tear, I appreciate all the love from everyone. And if you're on desktop, consider becoming a YouTube member today. You can see what type of offerings there are. All right, let's look at those deck lists. So coming in and with the first deck that we're going to look over, and I do want to say these decks are not in any particular order. I think these are just all great decks right now, is ADP-zation. ADP-zation using Altered Creation GX to kind of draw extra prize cards and do extra damage, really pushing Rusted Sword to its limit. I recently made top 32, coming 18th out of 320 players at the Chill TCG massive tropical beach tournaments. I lost due to dead drawing, so I made a few changes to the deck, adding in a Chaotic Spell to help out against Centiskorch decks, and a Dedenne GX for consistency. I think the key to doing well at an event like the Team Challenge, with it being single elimination, is going to be consistency, so I really buffed that up in a lot of these deck lists. So here there's the 3 Dedennes, the Crobat, the Eldegoss, lots of copies of Cherish Ball, lots of really good things coming out, and the deck is very well rounded altogether. So I think that this is the type of deck that I would like to play for the Team Challenge if I had the opportunity, just because I feel like I can play the deck exceptionally well, thinning the deck out of a lot of its resources to improve my chances in the late game. So if this is the type of deck that I have the opportunity to play, I'll be certainly excited about it. I think there's a lot of ways to outplay your opponent here with Mawile, make a lot of really cool plays with Metal Saucer, Energy Switch, and I mean, we could go over ADP all day, any day, but I think this deck is one of the best decks that you could play for the Team Challenge, and I'd almost argue that you want to have at least one copy of ADP on every single list, or every single team, on every single kind of team. And that the reason why I think that is because if your opponent's running a single prize card deck, or a control deck, or just a deck that gets absolutely bopped by ADP, such as Pikarom, I think ADP has a fantastic matchup spread, and it'd be detrimental not to include this on your team. Coming up next, we got Centiskorch VMAX. I think having a fire-type deck can be absolutely huge. This is one of the only few decks that has a powerful matchup against ADP, can do well against Luke Metal. So let's say if you have an ADP deck and an Eternatus deck on your team, I think that this would be a really good way to help kind of balance that in harmony and kind of complement where your weaknesses are with your other decks. Of course, you don't want your decks to all have a similar weakness when you're choosing these decks, so you wouldn't want to go, yeah, I'm going to play Centiskorch, my teammate's playing Crucephalon, my other teammate is playing Cinderace VMAX, because if someone's just packing a water type deck, or a deck that has a strong chance against beating fire type decks, let's say Eternatus, you would just be really adding those L's up for your team. So you really got to kind of coincide and talk about what your team is doing here. I've built this list up to make it a little bit more consistent, adding in an extra copy of Volcanion where a lot of lists are going down to 1, got the 2-2 split of Dedenne and Crobat, Cramorant V being able to use Beak Catch. So this is really more of the deck that's going to be a little bit inconsistent out of all the decks, but I think it's fine to choose one inconsistent deck out of the 3 because this deck has such a powerful threshold. And if this is our opportunity in a team challenge setting to beat a metal type deck or an ADP type deck or anything like that, it'd be really great. I also think the addition of Wondrous Labyrinth is hot right now, especially in a team challenge setting. It should go without saying that the team challenge is kind of like an extension of League at Home. A lot of players, this might be their first invitational or their first tournament that they've qualified for. Wondrous Lab will surely catch a lot of players off guard while they're playing, and they might not necessarily be packing the strongest lists or lists that might necessarily have a chance to counter Wondrous Labyrinth. So I think in as much as you want to keep lists consistent, I think having kind of a juicy tech card or something that adds kind of a little bit of that special sauce to your deck, the Wondrous Lab is that special sauce, along here with the double reset stamp. In other kind of case, you might be like, what would that be like in another deck? Well, I think that you might include an Absol or a Power Plant in an Eternatus deck if you really wanted to. I haven't in mind because I feel like I've come close to perfecting that deck, but here we are. I think that that's, I really like this version of Centiskorch, probably a great choice for your team challenge. You know, it wouldn't be a Zach Lesage video if I didn't talk about Pikarom at all, right? This is the deck that allowed me to win the Players' Cup 2 championship event with over 10,000 PTCGO players who participated, or at least that's what the numbers look like. Pikarom's been one of those powerful decks for a while now. Nothing really seems to drop it off the face of the planet, and anytime it does poorly for a period of time, it seems to jump back and bite harder than it ever did before. That's why I'm saying Pikarom, even though it's not the most well-positioned deck, I know in a 2 out of 3 setting, the deck has a lot of opportunities, can cover a wide range of matchups. It doesn't instantly lose to decks like Centiskorch, ADP, and Eternatus. You always have comeback potential with cards like Crushing Hammer, Team Yellgrunt, Bosss Orders, Marnie, Reset Stamp, and of course Raichu and Alolan Raichu using Tandem Shock. Of course, there's other options here where you could attack with Bulletins. Mewtwo allows you to attack with Pikarom and Raichu. All those attacks, sniping, energy acceleration. This deck kind of contains it all. And again, in a 2 out of 3 setting, I think this deck will see more success than what you think it will. Like, it's one of those things where Pikarom is the weakest out of these 4 decks that I'll show you right now, and it's the least favored to be well positioned, but it kind of holds its own in 2 to 3 very well. And I think a lot of players might not necessarily know how to play against an expert Pikarom player. So if you have one of the people on your team who knows how to play Pikarom well, it certainly should be a consideration. Again, look and see what the metagame is when you're ready for your team challenge. And of course, battle styles probably will come out for some of the team challenge qualifiers, depending on how they go for the weekends. So I think that this is a great opportunity for a lot of players to have some success. Pikarom is very consistent, has a lot of options. I think it's solid. Coming up last is Eternatus, and last is certainly not least, I think Eternatus is the best deck in our format. This deck, as you can see, is just pure streamline, the only 2-line deck that we have, but it doesn't need to have a variety of cards in order to see success. You just want to be doing the same thing over and over again, and that's Power Accelerator into a Dread End as soon as possible. Got a lot of peeps who still ask me what Yveltal is, the reason why it's in this deck. It has free retreat, so you could free retreat into a Power Accelerator, so you could get Dread End on turn 2. Everything tries to lead you into Power Accelerator, into Dread End. Sure, if you're playing against something like Luke Metal or something like Mad Party, you can change the strategy up and attack with Yveltal and Spiritomb and Zigzagoons and all that good stuff. But against most matchups where you could just normally play the game out, you are going to be playing Eternatus, Power Accelerator into Dread Ends, and doing everything you can to just knock out your opponent's Pokemon. This is arguably one of the most consistent decks that we have in the format. It arguably has the best matchup spread in the game. So I think Eternatus is clearly a deck that you want to have minimum on every single team. Now, that being said, maybe there's an argument where Colossal or Luke Metal could be added in if you have, let's say if you feel like you're a weaker player or that's your kind of deck. I totally think that that's a viable option as well, where you might be able to carry yourself off of Zamazenta V alone. But I do think that these 4 decks are quite powerful and quite capable of carrying your team, especially if you're playing against teams that aren't necessarily packing these decks. I'm not sure exactly what you'd be worried against beyond a direct counter, again, like Colossal, Luke Metal, things such as that. But yeah, Eternatus, absolutely a powerhouse here. I think my testing group and I, we've kind of cracked the code on this deck, made it the most consistent version as possible, and I think that this deck's absolutely. And there we have it. This is kind of where we're at with the tips and tricks. So again, going with a 1-1-1 of meta decks, or going with 2-1, just so you could anticipate and prepare what you're playing against in the team challenge. Remember, this is a single elimination event. So as soon as your team is out, you are out. Fight tooth and nail, obviously fairly, but make sure that you're giving your best go for everyone on your team. If you're that team member who never even gets an opportunity to play, make sure that you're on that Discord call, cheering on your team, make sure that they're going through the correct plays, offer your opinion up. whenever possible, making sure that everyone is prepared for this event. I know that I'm more than excited to participate in my store's event, and I know that a lot of people are excited to play in this event. I haven't got my playmat yet, but I'm super stoked to showcase it here on the channel and what other goodies I have. So that should be great. I'll keep y'all updated with how my run goes here, or at least on my Discord, Twitter, somewhere, and we'll see exactly how it goes. Fingers crossed that the squad at Torchlight Games does not make it does not get out on the first round. And again, that's my team is Maple Donut, Volts, my girlfriend Michelle, and myself. So it should be all good fun, really forming this team of oddball peeps from Canada, but it should be awesome. I'm more than excited. And of course, a huge shout out to our store organizers, Sam and Torchlight Games, for making it possible to play Pokemon during the pandemic online. So beyond excited. Let me know what you feel about the team challenge. Let me know if you feel about the decks in this video. Let me know if you got any cool strategies that maybe you want me to cover or that I missed. Anything like that, I get back to the comments pretty quickly. Beyond that, I mean, for me, I think I'm going to play some games on my Nintendo Switch today. A lot of my videos are like, oh, I'm about to do errands. I'm about to do this. I think it's Friday by the time that I'm recording this. Trying to get up on top of these videos as the channel grows. But I think I'm going to play on my Nintendo Switch a little bit. Thank you so much for watching, and have yourself a wonderful week, everyone. Peace out. I want to give a quick shout out to everyone who's been extremely helpful for all my support, and especially my YouTube members, everyone who's joined on SWSHEnergy PTCG by clicking join on desktop and then supporting my channel financially. You don't have to, but you did, and I really appreciate it. So shout out to Ali Plays Pokemon, Xenon TCG, Gabriel Smart, Slavin Tizik, Justin C, Josh Sutherland, and everyone else who's been watching my videos too. If you want to support the channel, you become a member today just by clicking join on YouTube, usually on desktop. But again, I appreciate everything. You don't have to, but everyone who did, I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel. If you haven't already, it'd mean the world to me if you could subscribe to help support me as a content creator. Thanks again, and have yourself a great one.